Hey guys, welcome back. So let's move forward to our next example. Next example or next problem is about finding out the product sum of an array. Product sum of a special array. Special array is an array consisting numbers as well as other arrays. For example, see this array. It's having elements 1, 2, 6, 7, but it's also having other arrays as its elements. Like at position 2, it is having another array with elements 3 and 2, and at position 4, it's having another special array with again an array and 1 as its elements. So now let's discuss what problem statement wants us to solve. So you need to calculate sum of all the elements and multiply with the depth of the array. For this special array, the outer special array, the depth is 1. And for the array 3 having elements 3 and 2, the depth is 2 because it's an array inside an array. And similarly for array 2, 4, the depth is 3. So basically to get the product sum, when you have numbers in an array, you just add them, and when you have array itself as element, you add all of its elements and then multiply the sum with the depth of that array. For example, for this array having elements 3, 2, it will be 3 plus 2 multiplied by 2. And for this array having elements 2, 4, it will be 2 plus 4 multiplied by 3 because the depth is 3. And then adding up all the elements. Well, if you see, the problem itself is pretty much recursive. You have arrays in arrays. So let's see how we can solve this problem. So let's go stepwise. First is knowing what the function should do. Our function will have a special array as its argument. This special array is a collection of objects. So it's a list. And we will calculate the sum. So the return type will be int. Now the next step is to find a subproblem and assume that the function already works for that subproblem. So the problem is to calculate the sum of all elements present in the array. Now special arrays can further have arrays. So the subproblem is to find out the sum of all the elements present in the subarray. And by assuming that our function is already working, we will get the sum of the subarray with this recursive call. It's saying if the element itself is another list or another array, then add the product sum of this array to the sum variable. So here we are calling the product sum recursively to get the product sum of the subarray. Next step is to use the result of the subproblem to solve the original problem. Now that we have the result of the subproblem, that is the sum of the subarray, so to construct the result of original problem, we just need to multiply it with the depth of the list. And then we can add it to the sum. And to handle the depth, we will add another parameter in function named depth. Initially it would be 1, as the depth is 1 for the input array or the top level array, and then whenever you come across the special array, you just increment it with 1 and the depth increases by 1. We can also write it in a helper function and invoke inside other function by passing depth as 1, as the client doesn't need to know anything about the depth. So when you have your sum result of the subarray, you can multiply with depth and then you can add it to the sum. Now next and the last step is to find out the base condition. So when you have number, you don't need to go recursive. You can add it up with the previous subproblem's result. So this will also be the base case. Now let's implement the solution in code.